What's up guys, this is Carl from Mk3. Yes, it's me again with a really long video. Right, so today in this video I want to address one of the most asked questions, which is which one should you get? The QWK Challenger Mk3 Standard or the Pro Max, and what are the main difference between them? So right off the bat, you can see the standard versions comes with the polycarbonate outer receivers, or the receivers upper and lower. So these are polycarbonates and they are alright, but they can be quite brittle, especially on these two points where you insert the screw pins. If you over tighten it, it will crack the shells. Well, not catastrophically, you can probably notice it, but it is just not as solid. And if if this thing fell into a solid ground like a cement, it probably will not survive. The receiver probably will crack somewhere. But on the Pro Max, you get a really nice fiber nylon receivers, both the upper and lower in different shade of grey. Right? These nylon shells makes the blaster feels a lot more better in hand. It just feels so much better. It's crazy. I can't really describe it with words, but once you hold it, both of them in hand, you will feel immediately that the Pro Max, this fiber nylon shell, feels a lot more better and much higher quality and much tougher. But you know, this is alright. Say if you have a standard with the polycarbonate shell, and if you wish to upgrade it to the nylon shell, you can do so. You can purchase the nylon shell from Mk3 and then you just swap it. They are exactly the same, no fitment issues. Right, then the next bigger thing is the gearbox. Actually the biggest, right? That is the gearbox. So I have some samples here. Right, so this is the nylon shells, gearbox shell made of nylon that is found in the standard, and that's it. This is the aluminium gearbox, 6061 CNC aluminium, found in the Pro Max, and this is why the Pro Max is so much more expensive. Right, and then there's some little parts that I'll go through with you guys. Right, so the rifling muzzles. On the standard, you get the traditional hardline rifling scar muzzles. On the Pro Max, you get the QWK designs 3D printed. This is the bearing muzzle. So the purpose of this device is to increase accuracy. Well, you know, it makes the dart spin when it exceeds the barrel. So on the hard rifling, you get the same effect, but because of the more frictions, it reduces FPS a bit more. On the bearing, it reduces the FPS lesser, so it's better. Alright, next up, the magazine release. On the Pro Max, you get a really nice aluminium magazine release, which is also extended, so you don't have to move your thumb as much to release the magazine. On the standard, you get a standard nylon magazine release button, which is non-extended, which, well, it's not that bad as well actually. You just need to move your thumb much more forward to hit it. But in my opinion, this actually works better, because on the extended version, I often found myself accidentally bumping into it and then the magazine just dropped out. So yeah, that's one thing to consider. Right, then the next more obvious thing is the buttstock, the bar, the two bar that supports, that connects the buttstock to the receiver. So on the Pro Max, you get a really nice CNC aluminium buttstock bar. So it is absolutely solid. It won't flex, it won't wobble, and it's just really solid. Right? On the standard, unfortunately, you get the bar in nylon, which, well, in my opinion, is not really a deal breaker and not really an issue as well. Because for myself, I mostly run my Mk3 with the buttstock fully collapsed, because it's just good. It's a nice, good configuration for me. But even if I were to actually extend it all the way, and I'm going to use it, it is still not really a big issue, because I don't really push the blaster against me with strength against my shoulder, and then it flex. Yeah, it's quite nasty. But usually I just rest it against my shoulder, and it doesn't really affect my experience with the Mk3. But I have to agree, the metal one does make the blaster feels a lot more solid, just because it doesn't flex. Right, next is the charging handle / bolt, which is this thing. Right, this thing here. So on the Mk3 Pro Max, it's made of metal, aluminum as well. So on this thing, it is really solid. When you pull and release it, it feels really solid. Now on the Standard, it is made of nylon, the same material as the buttstock, the bar here. So on the Standard, I don't have to say, it does feels quite nasty and a bit disgusting, because whenever I pull the charging handle, if I just flex my wrist a little bit, the whole thing just flex, and then yeah, it just feels really disgusting when I do that. But on the on the Standard, you don't really have to fiddle with this too much, so it doesn't really affect my actual experience using the blaster. But you know, something to know about. But this can be upgraded to metal one if you wish to. And that's pretty much it, well, externally. And I want to talk about what is actually the same thing that you get on both blaster. Now, first up is the barrel. Both of the barrel are made of aluminium. They are 21 cm in length. So both of them is the same, right? And the most important thing that I want to mention is on both, well, the Monkey Mods editions of the Challenger Mk3s, both Standard and Pro Max gets the same active dart corrector. This 3D printed, nylon 3D printed, they are very, very sturdy. They will last a long time unless, well, something bad happened, I guess. So you get this device. This device is the one that mainly to prevent the blaster from jamming as much as possible. And in my experience, it works really well. Right, so the rest is just the accessories, which is the magazines. On the Pro Max, you get 2 magazines out of the box and only 1 magazine for the regular, for the Standard. And then on the Pro Max, you also get 3 rails, right? So you can attach it for all directions. So now your Mk3 becomes, you know, quad rails. So you can attach whatever accessory that you wish to. But on the Standard, you don't get any rails. However, you can purchase this rail from Monkey Mods as well. They are available as a separate accessories. Because for example, I don't really need to attach a lot of stuff. So on my Standard, I just attach 1 rails on the bottom, so I can use you know, the foregrip or whatever, and it's good enough. And it's, you know, the profile of the blaster remains slim, and I prefer that. And that's pretty much it about the difference of the blaster. So let me go through with you guys the difference of how these two blaster operate. Right, so let's get started with the Standard. So this is my personal unit. So I have a bit of a customizations going on. I have a 3D printed custom cheek rest here, and then I have a kill switch here installed. So this kill switch is really convenient because the Mk3 doesn't really come with an on-off switch. Once you plug in the battery, it's live, meaning the chip in there will continue to drain the battery bit by bit. So if you're not going to use your blaster for, you know, more than a couple of hours, it is really advisable to remove the battery, you know, or at least unplug the battery. So on my unit with the Q switch, I can simply just flip the switch on and off. So like this is on, you can see the LED indicator there, and then like this is off. So it's really convenient. Now we may make this available in Monkey Mods, but to install this, you need to cut the shell a bit. So yeah, not really sure about that. But yeah, just to let you know what I did for my blaster. Right, of course, I also have a sling here attached to directly onto the screw pin. This is actually the worker screw sling mounting, and it works quite well if you run a single point. Right, so let me just go through with you guys how this blaster actually works. Let me just load the magazine. Right, just a side note, when you reload the magazine for the Mk3, it is really, really important that you load it the correct way. And how do you load it the correct way? It is actually on the instructional sticker on the magazine when you first got it. So it will tell you which is the right way and which is the wrong way. And you need to pay attention on how you do this, because if you do this the wrong way, your blaster can jam a lot, even with the dart corrector. So yeah, you have to pay attention to that. Right, I have two magazines partially loaded into the magazine. Just want to show you guys. So on the standard, to operate this thing, well, plug in the battery, make sure it's on, and then first make sure the blaster is deprimed. Right, just by pulling the charging handle just a bit. If it's stiff, means the system is not primed. Right, so to activate the system, simply put it in semi and then pull the trigger once. Right, you can see the bolt move back and forth once. Right, and then now the bolt is easily pulled, and then that's how you tell whether your blaster is primed or not. Right, so with the blaster primed, you can now insert the magazine into the blaster, and then you want to pull the charging handle once, and then you want to release it cleanly. Do not ride it back, do not release it slowly. Just pull all the way and then just release. So this will reduce the chances of jamming when you chamber a dart. Right? So once that's done, your blaster is live and it's ready to go. So let's say now I just put semi. Right? Semi, 3-shot burst, and then full auto. Right? Once the blaster fire off all the darts within the magazine, meaning the darts now is, your magazine is now empty. When the magazine is empty on the standard, it will cut off the trigger, meaning even if I have, doesn't matter what firing mode you are in now, semi, 3-shot burst, full auto, doesn't matter, it will not allow the blaster to fire, right? So if I pull the trigger now, nothing will happen, right? Because your magazine is now empty, and the magnets in the follower is the one that tells the blaster to cut off the trigger. So what you do next is you want to reload, and then you can continue to use. But remember, when your magazine is empty, the last darts is actually chambered into the barrel. So your barrel is actually loaded. Your blaster is actually not. It's actually still live. It's still loaded. So as long as you have an empty magazine in, the magnet is there, right? It won't fire. As soon as you remove the magazine, you can fire the blaster again, right? That fires off the last dart within the chamber, right? So this is how the standard works, and I think you can see where I'm going, why I say the standard has the advantage over the Mk3 Pro. So for example, right, I'm just going to load this magazine, just 2 darts, right? So 2 darts, chamber once round into the chamber, and I'm going to fire it off. So it should only fires 1 time, and then it will lock. So let's say, right? So 1 shot is fired, and the second darts in the magazine is now chambered into the blaster. But because the magazine is empty, it won't allow me to fire. Alright, so all you need to do now is take off the magazine, reload with another magazine with darts, and then you are good to go again. Right, until the magazine is empty and you still have the last dart, and you want to fire it off to make sure that your barrel is empty and then it's safe. Right, since I can just deprime the blaster while firing out the last darts, so I'm just going to put the blaster in safe, and then I'm going to pull the trigger and hold, and put it to semi and hold for 3-5 seconds. Right, so that will fire off the last darts, and then clear my chamber, and then my blaster is now also in the deprime condition. Right, and this is how the standard version of the Mk3 works. Right, on the Pro Max, let me show you. Right, to activate the blaster is the same thing. You plug in the battery, you put in semi, you pull the trigger once. Right, that prime the blaster. You pull the bolt a few times to make sure. Right, the blaster is now primed. Let me just load the blaster, load the magazine. Alright, so I have 2 magazines loaded. One is partial, another is almost fully loaded, I think. Yeah, fully loaded. Right, so the blaster is now primed. Right, so I'm just going to insert 1 magazine, and then I'm going to pull the charging handle and release it cleanly. Right, that will chamber 1 darts into the barrel, and then we are ready to go. So let's say semi. Alright, so when the magazine is empty, as you can observe, the bolt is now locked behind and it will stay there. Right, so what you want to do next is you want to grab the magazine, you want to grab a fresh magazine, right? Insert it, and what you need to do is that you need to push this bolt release latch forward. So once you push that, push it forward, it will drop the bolt like this, right? So now the bolt is dropped and you can go again. You can continue. Let's just smack down this full auto. Right? So I'm out. Magazine is empty. The bolt locks again and rinse and repeat. You do the same thing. Right, so let me just load one darts and deprime it. Right, so now the blaster is defined. So, and this is how both these blaster works, the Standard and the Pro Max. And yeah, I think you can tell which one is actually more efficient. Right, so that's probably all the information that I want to tell you guys, the main difference about the Standard and the Pro Max. Now, let me tell you my thought and, well, my experience using both of these blaster, both at home plinking and also down the field flinging foams at opponents, you know, at live people. And right, so right off the bat, let me just say this first. How does it go? Price is what you pay, value is what you get, right? From the very famous Warren Buffett, right? So if you ask me right off the bat, I can tell you the Mk3 Standard is the one to go for. Is the one that I can strongly recommend. Why? Because it's a lot cheaper, almost half as cheaper than the Pro Max, and practically speaking, it is actually better. So let's talk about the performance, right? The performance on both of these blaster, on the Monkey Mods editions of the Standard Mk3. You get 160 to 180 FPS, which is the exact same performance you get out of the Pro Max, right? Both of these have the same exact FPS performance because we have already upgraded the spring on the Standard to the Pro spring, so they are using the same spring. And also, the motor on the Standard are also the high performance, high torque motor found in the Pro. So the rate of fire is also the same, around 5 darts per second. So they both do exact, the same performance of the box. So why bother paying so much more for this, right? So the Pro Max offers some things that the Standard doesn't, which is the bolt lock, the functions, which is a really cool function. I personally really like it, but let me tell you the actual use of it. Right, so let's say if I'm going to use a blaster, Right, so let's say if I'm going to use, I'm going to pick a blaster, either the Standard or the Pro in the, in a let's say a casual games, weekend games, right? I'm going to pick the Standard because it is just easier to use and less hassle. Well, on the Pro Max, it does feels really nice to have, all the bolts, all the metal and this and that. It's nice, but if you're going to compare this out of the box performance, it doesn't actually offers any more than the Standard. And in actual use, it is actually a bit more problematic to use the Pro Max because of the bolt lock, right? So what I observe, right, usually in the regular game or whatever, I myself or even any other ones that are not really used to this blaster, they have a problem fiddling with the bolt lock. So I'll give you an example. Right, so I'm just going to load my magazines. Right, so when I use the Mk3, right, so during the regular usage, right, let's say if you just firing someone, Jesus, alright, so now I click again, the blaster does not respond. So my natural instinct will tilt the blaster this way so I can check what is going on with the bolt. Is there a jam or something else going on? Or the magazine is empty, the bolt is locked. So this process takes a few seconds sometimes. Well, even at the fastest time I can do, it still takes like 1-2 seconds because I need to look down the bolt and check what is going on. And then if everything is good, I'm just going to reload. Right? Then I'm going to drop the bolt, then go again. Right, and then yeah. So that few motions adds a lot of time, and it sort of breaks the flows when I'm playing in the games. So this doesn't feel like a big deal, and it really isn't a big deal, but it can be a problem. Because especially if you're not used to this blaster, which is why I've always said that the Mk3 is not really a blaster that you can just pass to anyone and then expect them to use the blaster efficiently, because there's a lot of things going on. Because most of the time, if someone that's not used to the Mk3 Pro, what happens is that when they fire the blaster, right, and then it empties, and then the bolt is locked back, so they thought, oh, it's probably empty, I'm going to reload now, and they load in a fresh mag, and then they just go and click, and then nothing happens, and then they get confused, or then they start checking the safety. Did they accidentally push it to safe, or it jams or whatever, and all the while is just because they forgot to drop the bolt, right? And that's it. And well, again, this doesn't sound like a big issue, and it's mostly an issue of whether the operator or the user is used to the platform or not. If he's used to the platform, this should not be a problem, but yeah, that can be a thing. But on the standard, it's so much simpler. You just for the first time, you insert the magazine and you charge it once to chamber a darts, and that's it. And that's all you do throughout the game until you are finished, you are done with the game. You don't have to worry about the bolt locking back when the magazine is empty. When you click, when you pull the trigger and it clicks, nothing happens. You just simply reload a fresh mag and then you continue to go again. So I'm just going to show you how quickly it can be. So I'm going to run the system. Right, now the blaster is live. I'm just going to fire it. This magazine is so long. Right, and then I just reload. And then I keep going. So you can see how fast that is, because I don't have to. Let me just clear the barrel first. Right, so you can tell how fast and how smooth and natural the whole process of reloading the Mk3 Standard compared to the Pro Max. Yeah, sure, you can probably get really fast once you get used to the Mk3, but just imagine if you do the same practice with the Standard. I can guarantee you 100% the Standard is going to fire faster. I mean, you can send a lot more darts down the range with the Standard compared with the Pro Max. So yeah, from the practical point of view, meaning actual games, the Standard is going to be my primary choice. I'm going to use my Standard more often than my Pro Max in actual games. But this doesn't mean that the Pro Max sucks. It is actually really amazing. So for example, if say I'm playing gig at home, right? I don't have anyone, I don't have any pressure, I just want to shoot some targets and I want some fun, right? The Pro Max does does something that no other blaster can offer. Maybe gas blow backside, I don't know. But as far as I know, the Mk3 Pro Max or the QWK can offer this sort of realistic operation of the blaster. The bolt lock is really nice. Like if I'm just going to pling some targets, I want to see how fast I can take down the targets with the Pro Max. I have to worry about if I'm just going to use a blaster like the Standard, and then the fun factor just reduced, because you just keep shooting, and then clicks, you just reload, and then you just keep going, and that can be a bit boring. So on the Pro Max, it offers something different. When the blaster is empty, you have to reload, you look at the bolt, you drop the bolt and everything. These are very nice experience. I'm not going to deny that. So it really depends on what you want out of this blaster. Both of these blaster offers great value, I have to say, but still the price difference is a bit too big, in my opinion, to actually lump them together to talk. So wait, let me think if there's anything that I missed out. Oh, right. The biggest difference between the Pro Max and the Standard is, of course, the FPS caps, right? On the Standard gearbox, this spring is basically the strongest spring that you can use with the gearbox without it breaking. So we don't really recommend you upgrading the spring on the Standard. So this is where the Pro Max is going to shine because of the aluminium gearbox. So with the aluminium gearbox, you can use an even stronger spring that can push the Mk3 Pro Max to shoot above 200 FPS. With a slight spring upgrade and also barrel upgrade to make it, I think 27 cm barrel to fully utilize the air volume within the system, you can easily do 210, 220 FPS with the Worker Bamboo darts, or might even higher if you use QWK APP darts. So that is probably the biggest difference between the Standard and the Pro Max, and the advantage of the Pro Max over the Standard. Because if you want the Mk3 that shoot over 200 FPS, your only choice is the Mk3 Pro Max. There's no other choice. You can't really do it with the Standard without risking blowing the entire gearbox apart. So it's really not recommended. But of course, even with the Pro Max, if you use a stiffer spring, it is going to put higher strain and stress on the gearbox itself, especially the components. For example, you are going to have to do a lot more regular maintenance to check out the internal parts, particularly the motor, and then the piston assembly, the sear, and also the electronic components. These are the parts you want to pay attention to when you upgrade the spring. And well, I suppose the first thing that will go is probably the electronic components, the chipboard. But the chipboards are easily replaceable. You just need to solder 2 points, and that's how easily the chipboard can be replaced. But the rest, for example, the piston assembly, that is also available as a spare parts, but they don't really break that easily, even with the upgraded spring. But you just need to take a closer look and pay more attention if you choose to upgrade your gearbox. And as for the Standard, that's pretty much it. There isn't much you can do to upgrade the gearbox itself. However, you can still upgrade the barrel to use a 27, 28 cm barrel. That would give a further 5 to 10 FPS boost on the Mk3 Standards. And I think that's pretty much it. I think I did not leave any important information out. So back to what I want to talk about, the conclusions. Which one should you get? Now, again, it really depends, alright? So with the information that I've already given it to you in this video, I hope it helps you to decide which one you want to get. But generally speaking, most of the time, I almost always recommend the Mk3 Standards. Because for the price that you are paying, it is great value, and it offers a user an experience to many people that can actually wow people with the accuracies of this blaster, and then without the needs to fiddle with a lot of things. Because every time I pass the Mk3 to a newbies, to someone that never used this before, I always have to spend 5 to 10 minutes to explain to them how this works. But on the Mk3 Standards, it's a lot easier. So for most people, I would still recommend the Mk3 Standards. But that's not to say the Pro Max has, well, no place. Absolutely not. If you can get over the rather complicated operation of the blaster, and if you want to further improve the FPS, well, I can definitely recommend the Mk3 Pro Max, right? And that's pretty much it. I don't think I left out any important informations. And if you have any questions regarding this blaster, just ask in the comment sections. I'll get to you as soon as possible. Right, and that's pretty much it. Right, thank you very much for watching. Please like the videos, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.